So what does deep learning have to do with the brain? At the risk of giving away the punchline, I would say not a whole lot. But let's take a quick look at why people keep making the analogy between deep learning and the human brain. When you implement a neural network, this is what you do: forward prop and back prop. And I think because it's been difficult to convey intuitions about what these equations are doing, really gradient descent on a very complex function, the analogy that is like the brain has become really an oversimplified explanation for what this is doing. But the simplicity of this makes it, kind of seductive for people to just say it publicly, as well as for media to report it, and it's certainly caught the popular imagination. And there is a very loose analogy between, let's say, a logistic regression unit with a sigmoid activation function, and here's a cartoon of a single neuron in the brain. In this picture of a biological neuron, this neuron, which is a cell in your brain, receives electric signals from other neurons, maybe X1, X2, X3, or maybe from other neurons, A1, A2, A3, does a simple thresholded computation, and then if this neuron fires, it sends a pulse of electricity down the axon, down this long wire, perhaps to other neurons. So there is a very simplistic analogy between a single logistic unit, between a single neuron in a neural network and a biological neuron like that shown on the right. But I think that today, even neuroscientists have almost no idea what even a single neuron is doing. A single neuron appears to be much more complex than we are able to characterize with neuroscience. And while some of what it's doing is a little bit like logistic regression, there's still a lot about what even a single neuron does that no human today understands. For example, exactly how neurons in the human brain learns is still a very mysterious process. And it's completely unclear today whether the human brain uses an algorithm that's anything like backpropagation or gradient descent, or if there's some fundamentally different learning principle that the human brain uses. So when I think of deep learning, I think of it as being very good at learning very flexible functions, very complex functions, to learn X to Y mappings, to learn input-output mappings in supervised learning. And whereas the is like the brain analogy, maybe that was useful once, I think the field has moved to the point where that analogy is breaking down, and I tend not to use that analogy much anymore. So that's it for neural networks and the brain. I do think that maybe the field of computer vision has taken a bit more inspiration from the human brain than other disciplines that also apply deep learning. But I personally use the analogy, to the human brain less than I used to. So that's it for this video. You now know how to implement forward prop and back prop and gradient descent even for deep neural networks. Best of luck with the promo exercise, and I look forward to sharing more of these ideas with you in the second course.